Uwaga! Materiał, którego właśnie słuchasz, ma charakter wyłącznie rozrywkowy i informacyjny. Nie stanowi porady medycznej, ani nie zachęca do stosowania jakichkolwiek substancji. Wszystkie działania podejmujesz na własną odpowiedzialność, a autorzy podcastu nie ponoszą odpowiedzialności za skutki wykorzystania tych treści w praktyce. Jeśli temat jest dla Ciebie rażący, śmiało wyłącz, ale subskrypcję możesz zostawić. Hello guys and welcome in another English once. Today's guest is Justin Mihaly. Thank you for joining me, man.
I'm really excited to chat with you, man. You've got great energy. Let's bring some value, brother.
Yeah, today was a busy day, so I am basically in a rush. So probably I'm gonna be dead in about 2 hours. But right now I am quite energetic today, just because maybe I'm a little overdose of the theacrine. So this is why.
Man, that's something gets you dialed in. Hey, I got my nicotine right here, so you and I might be able to go on some rants, huh?
Okay, great. So we boosted up like perfectly. Okay, so man, everyone knows who are watching my podcasts that I like to cover the approach of the certain coaches with some sort of scenario. Just because if we're gonna talk about
Yeah.
everyone out there, it's gonna be a little bit harder to understand because our guys who weigh like 150 pounds is a totally different animal than a guy who weighs 280, for example. So let's say that I am your new client. I'm weighing about 230, something like that. So I was in a heavyweight class, and we wanted to
Okay.
jump me over the class to open heavyweight. And I'm
Right.
just finished my contest prep, and my health parameters are great. Let's says that I made some sort of health phase, and you saw my lab works. They are perfect. You are
Yep.
perfectly fine with that. So how, if we're gonna start, what the information you want me to provide you at the beginning of our cooperations together?
Yeah, this is a great question. I absolutely love this. So, I think something that we're doing super unique inside of ESA is we're teaching everything a biofeedback first approach, right? So, typically, I think what happens in online fitness coaches, you get this generic questionnaire. How much cardio you're doing, how many drugs you take, and what supplements you're doing, what's your diet, what's your weight, send pics, all of that stuff. But those are all fine, well, and dandy, but what you're doing right now doesn't necessarily matter as much as what your body is telling us it needs and what's going on. So we do HRV. I need your blood glucose. I need 3 days of body temperatures. I need to understand your sleep latency. Sleep latency is a really big one. And for those at home who might not understand what that means, that's just how long does it take you to fall asleep? Um, are you sleeping throughout the night? Are you restless? Are you waking up urinating throughout the night? That'd be a body temp issue. That would be a cortisol issue. And obviously, there's going to be a little bit of brain activity issue there as well. So something that cures that right away is glycine. So I want to know how's your hunger. I want to know how's your digestion. Like what's going on with your digestion? Are we having multiple bowel movements every single day? For all season bodybuilder, like, dude, you're gonna be eating a lot of food. Like you're going days without bowel movements. You're having one bowel movement a day. Like, man, we're not getting the job done. I want to know what foods you like. I think this is super important for the digestive process because if we're consuming foods that we like that are cooked well, we're going to have more saliva secreted in our mouth first. So also there's a huge part of dieting that we want to take it through the cooking process. Your body gets warmed up to digest food as we're cooking the food. As our senses are picking up that we're preparing food, your body starts getting ready to digest food, right? I want to know what food you like because if I know what foods you like, we can make your meal plan out of this. So you have your senses picking up on it, your body getting primed, saliva released. The breakdown starts in your mouth first. So if we're putting food down our esophagus into our stomach that has not had enough enzymatic breakdown from our saliva or hasn't been chewed enough, now we're putting our stomach behind the ball, right? So that's something I really want to know. Um, I want to know for men, I think it's super important. Like, how many mornings are we waking up with morning wood, and for women, how's our mood? Are we going all over the place? Are we bouncing all around? Um, and then I think the last couple things to note would all be training feedback stuff. Are you consistently getting stronger right now, or do you feel burnt out? After you train, do you feel like this huge like neuro drop, like you just can't get anything done in the rest of the day? So all of these things I think are telling us really important stuff about just how your body's working at the moment, right? And you preface with saying that the health markers and parameters are good. Obviously, I want to see your triglyceride HDL ratio. That's going to be super important. Like everything can be in range, and that's off. I want to see our SHBG. I want to see our prolactin. The A1C, obviously, very important. So I kind of want to get this full picture. I don't care a ton about what you're doing right now. I care much more about how your body is working. And then we just base everything we do based off of that. And one more note before I hand it back to you is uh, say somebody comes in and they're running a ton of drugs. Let's say, so I took down some notes here. We said 230, so 230 pounds. Let's say this guy's running over 1.5 grams in the off season right now, but he's the biofeedback metrics aren't great. Let's say maybe his sleep latency sucks. And um, let's say his HRV is down in the 30s, not good. Let's say, and keep in mind, blood work perfect. The same, exactly as you prefaced. Um, and let's say his body temps are low, and we're on a shit ton of drugs. What does that tell me? We've got some mitochondrial dysfunction going on somewhere, so we need to start all the way at the base, rebuild this thing back up. Some cardarine, some SS31 can be super important there. Obviously, circadian health is going to be huge. But man, when someone comes in and they're running a lot of drugs, I definitely want to figure out why. What are we compensating for? I think in an off season, I promise this last note before I hand it back to you. You see, you called it before I started the podcast. I'm long winded. The last
Yeah.
note, off season, man, I don't like having super high androgens, but I love, growth hormone, insulin synergy, cardarine, keeping VO2 max high, keeping our body cranking ATP. I'm not opposed to supporting metabolic health with some T3 in the off season. It's going to help us build more muscle. But I don't really want crazy high androgens. I don't see need for it. I really don't. Food does the work, and training and recovery does the work here.
Let's make it clear because I have a lot more of questions right before we start because normally I started with the training, but you started with a lot of details that's actually curious for me just because I was never even thought about checking it with, well, for example, my guys. So that's something that I will definitely want to touch to learn something from you. But first of all, you says a lot of drugs, and then you says 1.5 grams. This is a lot of drugs for you for a guy who is 230.
I think in the off season, that's real high drugs. That's really high drugs. Now, what something to keep in mind. This might be an unpopular opinion. I'm not quite sure. I've talked about it before, and some people didn't like it. Well, it's interesting. No one who's ever jacked didn't like it. It was simply skinny people that didn't like it. But as I do, when you're 230, like your TRT is not 200 mgs per week. A low dose at 230, you're looking at 600 mgs per week. People might not agree with that. That's my thoughts. I think 800, 900, perfectly. I mean, perfectly fine. I'm saying quote unquote. If you're not seeing this the video, I is pretty freaking normal. There's a lot of muscle on this person. There's been a lot of androgen exposure to get that high. I think 1.5 grams. That's when we're starting to get pretty high in an off season phase. I would rather us save that, perfect other things. Something I do is super unique. Right now, I got Regan King, last year's national champion, won the super heavyweight class and then won the overall NPC nationals. Um, Ever since the show, we've trained 3 days a week. It is September 4th. That was 9.5 months ago. He's trained 3 days per week. He's 280 right now. We're using 400 mgs to test a week. That's it. Training 3 days because anabolism can be driven by recovery. Muscle grows when muscle protein synthesis is higher than muscle protein breakdown. So go in, stimulate the muscle. And let me add an asterisk. If you're winning the NPC national championship, you know how to freaking train.
Yeah.
So for someone who doesn't know how to train, or I'm saying train to a level of a professional bodybuilder, not the level of an NPC guy, an amateur guy. When you have to train at the level of a professional bodybuilder, muscle protein synthesis needs to be higher than muscle protein breakdown, new muscle grows. So we go in, I got about 12 to 14 working sets on 3 days. We go in, we crush these 3 days. What's more important than training? His family time is. He runs a company that's scaling and he's doing a phenomenal job with that, runs a concrete business in Omaha, Nebraska. These are more important than bodybuilding. So now he gets time to spend more with his family, to grow his business. That leads to more fulfillment, leads to more purpose. And man, I mean, I have Isaiah Seawright doing something similar. He won JUSA Classic Physique. He's a little over 280 right now. He's a tall guy. He's like 6'5". And I want you being with your family. I want you being present. Something about that, man. It's something about that just makes people better bodybuilders. You also don't resent the gym. If it's 9 p.m. after a long day, you haven't seen your family, you haven't seen your wife, you've been at the gym for 2.5 hours, you're gonna resent training. Now you have problems with the family. You got problems with the family, again, it's bigger than bodybuilding. So I have some unique takes there. People can agree with it or not agree with it. That's just how I do things. But
Yeah, today's everything about your opinion about things, so I'm not gonna interrupt you with that. But let's come back a little bit to me, just because I
please.
am your new client, and
Yes.
and we wanted to focus about me right now. But uh, let's explain something. Just because you says something about the parameters that's normally is not seen in the normal check-in form for the coaches. So stuff like temperature, stuff like HRV, stuff like latency on your sleep and stuff like digestion and others are quite normal, but those three are definitely stands out for me. So explain what you are searching for in a perfect scenario and what would be the sign of something's going wrong and what's are the main concern about that.
I love this. Let's first break down. We said body temps, HRV, sleep latency, digestion. Body temps show us metabolic health, mitochondria health. Mitochondria they create our ATP. So when you create ATP, a byproduct of this is heat. That's why body temperature is so important. HRV is just nervous system recovery. Okay, so if that goes real low, nervous system's not going to recover, and then we go in trying to deadlift 700 pounds, not going to be good. Sleep latency, cortisol versus melatonin balance. Think of it as circadian function. Pretty easy measure on circadian function. And then obviously digestion. Are we absorbing the food or are we just stressing the body with food intake, right? So with body temps, I want you waking up at 97.6 to 98.2, somewhere in there. I want us eclipsing, going over 98.6 after meal two on the day. Because every time you consume food and it starts getting broken down, we should be turning some of this food byproduct into ATP, which, like I just said, creates some heat so we can track this. If you track your temp at 40 minutes after a meal, your temperature is lower than where it was in the morning, or it's not quite getting these measurements. That means that some of the food we're taking is stress in the body. My first move there, pull back the amount of meals on the day. So we're going to pull back calories too. We're going to pull back the amount of meals. We're going to take some stress off the body. HRV. So you said 230 pounds,
So,
big guy.
well,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
let's yeah, I have a question just because you says if your temperature is lower after the meals, it says that there's some sort of problem, if I understand you correct, just because I'd always thought that the overproducing of heat is some sort of a regulation on uncoupling protein in your mitochondria. So probably the less energies goes to the ADP, and the more energy is skipping or sleeping through the mitochondria, creating more heat. So this is like a almost like a DNP mechanism of action. So this is for me will be the sign of maybe not functioning well mitochondria. So this is why I don't understand why getting lower in temperature is a bad thing.
So, talking about two semi different things, I would love to dive into this. This is a great question. So, how DMP works is it's going to uncouple proteins, right? It's going to uncouple at the mitochondria, meaning it's essentially going to make your mitochondria operate very inefficiently, extremely inefficiently. So, mitochondria now have to make more and more and more and more to get a little bit of ATP. They got to work hard, 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 hard to make that little bit. So why DMP heats you up is because they're working so hard to create this ATP, which means we're using a lot of the food as fuel right away before we even get into recovery mechanisms, which is the next part of metabolism is we want this food to be dispersed into the body, which is why we track pulse rate along with body temperatures. If so if you use DMP, um, you track body temp's pulse rate, body temp will go up, but it's super interesting that our internal body temperature actually doesn't rise a shit ton on DMP. We're just sweating so much because you're wasting is the word that comes to mind right now, and I don't love that word. For sake of conversation, we'll say wasting some of the food, right? So, whenever ATP is created, heat's a byproduct. Now, we're creating more heat as a byproduct because we're having to work way harder to create the same amount of ATP. That's what an uncoupler does. BAM 15 is also supposed to do it. I experimented with BAM 15 a few months ago myself, and Dom Kuza did also. And we both came together and we are like, didn't experience anything. I'm talking, I'm talking nothing. Like, I didn't experience
Yeah.
anything. I didn't
Some
experience
guys,
fat loss. I didn't
yeah,
experience any
some
of that.
guys have the same experience with SLU. And for
Yeah.
me, for example, SLU does shit for the temperature, to be honest. I am not getting sweat more, I am not hitting more or anything like that. So
Do you
maybe
remember
it's
the
the
dose
same.
you took?
Anything around 8 to 1
Yep.
make, 800 to
Okay.
1 make. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're supposed to be doing like the equivalent of slew from the rat studies that we have would be us taking a minimum of a
Yeah.
gram. And it's like, these things are getting dosed. They're being sold dose like 100 mics. And it's like, or 100 migs. And it's like, we're not getting anywhere with that. Like, we need a gram. I have a really cool one that I'm using right now. I did a post on it recently. I'm using a slew 5 amino combo, and one serving is 500 milligrams slew. So I do two servings a day. Um, I definitely noticed some stuff on that. I noticed a bit more heat, but most people, like you took it in the right manner. Also, not everyone's going to respond to everything the right way.
Yeah.
Um, but I like it way more. When I took slew solo, I was pretty similar to you. I was like, I don't see a ton. When I took 5 amino solo, I saw a good bit. When I took them together, I saw a wildly synergistic effect. And that was before I did my Retta experiment. So I got quite a bit leaner on that. But so back to the body temperature. So the reason we want it to go up post meal body temperatures and pulse both. Body temperature goes up. That means that we're using that food and creating ATP out of the food. If we're not doing that, which means our metabolic processes are happening.
Yeah.
If we're not doing that, we're relying on some adrenal hormone, maybe some adrenaline. So you get like a surge, maybe some even epinephrine. Like we're relying more on adrenal hormone than we are metabolic hormone. Now, this also, if you have a meal of, say, 150 grams ground turkey, only protein, your body temp's not going to go up all that much. You didn't really take in a lot of usable energy in terms of what the mitochondria can take and create ATP out of. Obviously, it does that much easier out of carbs. So people on, keto carnivore, we should still see that increase through the day, but it's definitely not going to be quite where we want it to be. I'm not pro or anti keto or carnivore. I think every diet has a place in fixing things short term. I think every diet should be a short term thing. I think we should be rotating diet quite often. I take a very micronutrient first approach there. Actually, and here's another unpopular opinion. I have a content piece coming up about this. Uh, Man, I don't really care what your calories are. I care about what your micronutrient intake is. Like your calories will dictate, the scale weight more often than not. But your micronutrient intake, that's what dictates your internal health, your ability to grow, your ability to recover. So like I have no idea what like since I brought him up, I don't know what Regan's calories are, but I know he's got like 14 food sources in right now. So there's a lot of micros, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So, but yeah, when our metabolism is firing healthily, we just want to see that gradual rise in that body temp. But keep this in mind. So some people, there's going to be a correlation between this. Some people eat carbs in their last meal, and they'll get super hot in that last meal, which is metabolic function, right? And then they can't go to bed because their pulse rate's high, their temp's high, their body's not getting cool enough to actually put them into a deep sleep state. So for those people, we can remove those carbohydrates because at the end of the day, our body temperatures are supposed to do this and then come back down at the end of the day. Okay. So for some people, what we're going to do in this situation is we'll remove those carbs. Now, in other people, and they're not going to be affected by it, that probably means they're pretty well metabolically. In other people, there's an issue falling asleep without having carbohydrates before bed. Why is this? Because we're having this protein intake during the day. When our amino acids are all competing with one another to get where they need to go. We have an amino acid called tryptophan. It's a precursor to serotonin, right? Well, tryptophan is this tiny, tiny, tiny little molecule. And so it kind of gets lost in the sauce here. So and then we have poor sleep latency. We're not going to bed. We're not getting into deep sleep states. So what we can do here is we can add carbohydrates into that last meal. The carbohydrates drive insulin up. And insulin is going to help transport some of these big protein molecules into where we want it to go. And it's going to free up tryptophan to get to the blood-brain barrier, cross the blood-brain barrier, and allow serotonin. It's a serotonin precursor, so it allows serotonin synthesis to happen. And then we have better sleep latency, right? So that's another sign of how metabolically healthy you are, but it's not a huge sign. Because like for you, right, if I'm coaching you, you're going to have 5 or 6 meals a day. So 5 or 6 meals, we need to put a little bit of carbs before bed for you to get to sleep fine. We need to remove them fine. We have 6 opportunities a day to get better with having the right food, right? So to cover the body temps, the HRV is a huge one because that's just training recovery. I mean, let's say your HRV is 60 right now. I'd be pretty happy with that. Let's say it's 50. I'm happy with that. So you're training your ass off, you're doing the thing, you're getting after it, and then all of a sudden you check in with me and it's down to 41. Wow, how we drop this many points. Let's just take a few days off. But again, muscle protein synthesis, muscle protein breakdown, this has to skew in the synthesis direction over the breakdown direction, right? So what we get to do here, take a few days off, allow your body to recover, get into a parasympathetic state. Low HRV means we're going to be sympathetically driven. Low HRV is going to go hand in hand with poor metabolic health. We're not going to be able to build a lot of muscle. Muscle building is very much so a byproduct of a nervous system adaptation as it is an endocrine adaptation, a pharmacological adaptation, or a physiological adaptation. So let's recover that, get that back up, and then we can go attack training again. Also, I would love to see, we have nothing that covers this because it's kind of impossible to track. I want to see the torn pecs, the torn quads, the torn biceps, whatever. I'd love to see the HRV in that moment. Where was that athlete's HRV? I guarantee you it was low. I
Okay.
guarantee their nervous system was asking for a little bit of a break. So let's give it. Like the body's telling us what it needs all the time.
Do you use some sort of like an Oura ring or something like that with your athletes? That's mandatory for you to be tracking all of this stuff because I know this it is not accurate like 100%, but it's some sort of data that you can use actually, and you see the trends. So
Yep.
so it is something that could help you potentially as a coach. So do you use something like that? And what would be the first choice of your
My first choice is I'm going to get you the right name of it here right now. It is an O. It's called the O2. It's called the O2 sensor watch. I am getting that for you right now. Man, you should definitely get one. O2 tracker, o2tracker.com.
Ooh, never heard
This
about
watch
it.
is amazing. I think it's about 170 bucks. Measures HRV, measures blood glucose, measures HDL and LDL, measures body temperatures. Did I already say blood glucose? Did I
Yes,
already say
but you
blood
say
glucose?
also HDL and LDL. How does it even
Insane,
possible?
insane. And this thing is so at first I didn't believe it.
Is
The
that
director,
focus from time to time and check your blood or what?
nuts. So the director of medical for ECA, he told me about it 5, 6 months ago. Obviously, he's a doctor. We can get labs whenever for him. So he's sending the data from this O2 tracker, and we're looking next to the labs, and I'm like, oh my god, this accuracy is on point. Like this is insane. Man, it measures some other. It's absolutely nuts. That's 170 bucks. Also, also, it sends red light therapy through your wrist into like these veins right here. So as blood's flowing through, your blood's getting hit with red light. Oh, dude, everyone should be using an O2 tracker.
Okay,
Everyone.
definitely gonna check it.
It is completely insane. Yeah, I would love to send you that link. Dude, it's absolutely nuts. Game changer. So I just sent it to you here. I can send it to you on Instagram
Yeah,
too.
I
But
see that.
so we have we have the sickest thing ever. Uh, my director of coaching created a database for our clients to where your Aura Ring, your Whoop, your O2 tracker, Apple Watch syncs to the database. So we have data from every single morning when
Nice.
our clients go to check in. This thing is insane. And like we just get to track trends and it's like, oh, somebody's body temperature dropped this morning. What happened? Well, I had an argument, with my girlfriend before bed last night. Okay, yeah, you're probably going to be in a cortisol and a stress state. But what's amazing with this is, especially the O2 tracker, man, you really get to see how much everything affects you. And we get to use this for some, we are not psychologists whatsoever. We definitely stay in our lane with this stuff, but we get to use this for some psych work too. Like, hey, stop watching the news. Look at your, look at what happens. Look what your body's physiological response is when you watch the news. Hey, what kind of music you listen to when you train? Because this and this and this is happening. Oh, I'm listening to something negative in nature. Oh, well, we should probably listen to like maybe some more positive stuff while we're training, right? Like just little things like that. You get to see the physiological response that your body has to all the decisions that you make. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
before people get overwhelmed with the information and also with the details that you're tracking on, because for some people this is just too much. You know how it
It
is.
is.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
So I'm gonna ask you the first question that's on my list. So how do you set up my training during the off season? Like, let's says that I am for most of my career training using some sort of low volume, high intensity training.
Yep.
And I'm obviously I have some wear and tears, and probably it is not smarter for me just because I'm 31 to still pushing the weights as high as is possible. Or maybe you think that's doesn't matter. If it hurts, it hurts. Just go and push it even further. But what's what would be your idea for me to start with? Do you like to start with a little bit less volume, a little bit more volume, maybe at 3 times a week, like you said before, or something like that?
So after I get all that intake information, and we've already laid a good picture out here. We're saying your HRV is 50. We're saying that everything's okay here. Everything's good. Um, Let me first backtrack. When I was still actively bodybuilding, I don't know if you follow me then, I got pretty freaking gigantic. I was up around 290. I was just doing insane. I have this video on Instagram of RDLing, insane RDL, 605 pounds for 8 reps. It was just absurd. And it's like, dude, you know what that gave me? It gave me a torn adductor. It gave me a partially torn pec. It gave me this back issue and this hip issue that I still can't quite get nailed. It's gotten better, but I can't nail it down. If I could go back, and this is what I would have you do. So I have my guys do. If I go back, I can tell you're strong. You got big traps, you got big shoulders, you got big arms.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are we deadlifting? And that might not be popular for everyone. Now, if you're not strong, if you can't pick up 5 bills off the ground for 4 or 5 reps, then you need to be deadlifting, right? Why are we deadlifting once we get past that point? Why are we squatting first in our session? Why not last? Like I would rather you be doing pulse squats with your heels elevated with 275 pounds after you did 4 exercises before that. Sit your hams on your calves and stand up for as many reps as you can. One set of that. And we're going to get way more out of that, just my opinion. So how I would set up your training, without seeing your legs and your physique, um, we have to go by what's most important in bodybuilding, right? So in bodybuilding, every single division, there's an abdominal contest in every single division.
So
So,
I can tell you, my chest is shit, my back is shit.
so
Everything is pretty much okay.
what right now? What are you doing for chest?
Right now I'm training it's 2 times a week. The one push session is more like a chest focus and less maybe some side delts, and the second one is primarily side delts and a little bit of chest, like maybe a flies, some sort of like a dip machine and stuff like that. So I'm like moderate volume and more focusing on mind muscle connection, full range of motion, and everything that I think that I need to focus on. So the best muscle contraction and connection that I possibly can with using a decent amount of weight, but I don't care if I'm progressing with weights or not, as long as I have a great connection with my muscles.
Amazing. So here's what I'm gonna have us do. Let's break down a chest day here first, right? We're gonna do pulse dips first. So we're gonna go all the way down. We're gonna pause these dips. We're gonna have everything we do for chest. Our hands are gonna be how loose can they be while just keeping stability, right? So on dips, it's easy. We just put our palms on here and we can wiggle our fingers and know that we're in a good position, right? Don't
Yeah.
freaking death grip. You can even see it. Like as soon as you death grip, your traps and your delts just kind of start, they crunch up. Let's relax into it. We're going to pause down here and we're just going to think about how do I hug my elbows to my pecs on every single rep, all the way up, full range of motion. We're going to pause all the way down there. So we're going to do about 3, 4 sets out. And I want this fast. It's not that I love pre-exhaust, it's that I had a shit chest too. And then I made my chest insane at the end of my career. Like this is how I did it. You start with a little bit of pre-exhaust, I suppose. We're going to do these 3, 4 RIR, but we're doing fast. Remember, we're going to do them real fast. Then we're going to get down and we're going to do some chest press. So we're going to do 2 sets of chest press. You do your feeder set, 1 or 2 feeder sets. Then we're going to do some chest press. And on that chest press again, we're gonna grip real loose. That dumbbell sitting right here. Let's say you use the 140s right now. We're going to 110s. And we're starting right here. And we're just thinking about hugging your loved one. Hug your mom every single rep and just converge. We have to converge. That pec is not meant to be out, that pec or straight. That pec is meant to come in. It's driving the elbow, the bicep inside of your body, right? So towards the midline. So we're gonna hit these, and I didn't really do full range of motion there. It's like full range of motion, that lasts 15%. That's triceps locking you out, right? Well, your triceps are good, your chest isn't. So we're gonna go about that 85% range of motion marker. We're gonna be looking about what after you're a little pre-exhausted, you're hitting these real nice, about 10 to 15 reps. Now, here's something that I did that was a huge cheat code. Nick Walker told me to do it when we were chatting back a long time ago. Um, we're going to drop down maybe 70 pounds. From 110, let's say 80 pounds. Then, because now we've done, 3, 4 sets of dips. We've done 2 work sets here, a feeder set or two. Dude, we're 8 sets in total, right? Not 8 work sets, we're 8 sets in total. There's some fatigue that's built up. Let's put that freaking resistance band around your back. Hold it in your hands on your palms. Have these 80, 85, maybe 75-pound dumbbells, and let's just rep this thing. Think about hugging your mom every single rep that you give it. Just wrap these elbows around your into the midline of your body, right? Let's torch that thing. Think about this. We need to converge with chest. So any chest machine that just goes straight out, shit chest machine has to
Yeah.
converge. We need to converge. Well, the resistance bands are pulling you into the middle of your body. So you're fighting that resistance, pulling into the middle of your body, and you're pushing that resistance, driving into the middle of your body. But people do this and they'll cheat because it's easier to press straight up or a little bit out when that resistance band's pulling you in, right? So we're going to fight that resistance band, come in every single time to the midline of your body. We're going to do about 2 sets there. Now we're about 8 work sets in, about 10 sets total. I personally, I don't love flies very much. Just not a huge fan. That's just my preference. I want to find a chest converge machine and I want to just light this shit up on a drop set, on a cluster. I guess I just like drop sets more. And we're going to drop set that thing, 2, 3 times. When we have a weak body part, I don't think more volume is the answer. I think that the answer is going to be just better volume. And
Yeah.
how much can we converge? But the important note, as soon as we start death gripping, the set's done. As soon as we start death gripping and we can't keep pushing, I should say, like it's going to be your nature to try to start muscling through, right? Keep these hands relaxed and let this chest do that work. And I don't think adding volume is typically a good answer. And then think about elbows. Elbows got to be into the side of the body. The chest muscle is going to work down into the bicep, under the shoulder into the bicep, right? It doesn't go straight. It has an arc at the end. So we need to have our elbows matching that arc. Uh, and then, dude, I just love finishing with push-ups. Like, how many push-ups can you get until you're absolutely toast, keeping those elbows into the side of your body and just same thing here, just pressing through that chest every single time. I think about hugging my mom. Just hug your mom every single
Yeah.
time. Uh, I know that you're a super strong dude, and super strong people, when they have weak body parts, need to make themselves a little bit weaker when training those body parts. So yeah, my muscle connection is a big part of it, but just the setup is gigantic too. Uh, I think for I don't know how tall are you?
I'm 5'6", 5'7", something like that. 5'6", I
So
think.
for people under like 5'10", I do think chest flies can be a little bit better, but again, it's going to be just kind of very personal preference. I think the issue is I don't find a lot of chest fly machines to be great.
To be
So I like
honest, if you're using a conversion, chest press is basically a fly, because it's
dude, great
yeah.
point. Great point. Yeah, it kind of is. Huh? A good
Yeah.
one is.
I think
Uh,
that the most thing to realize when it comes to the weaker chest is how the actually muscles work. So you have to learn how to bring in those two points of insertion together. So this is something that's, if you basically realize how the chest works, is then every press is a fly, to be honest.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I
so
like how
this
you say
is,
that.
yeah, definitely. So I totally get what you mean, and this is why I think separating the volume over 2 days is better than using one day, just because doing like 20 sets of chest when your chest is shit is basically like 6 to 8 first sets is okay, and then the last 12 set is basically doing nothing because everything's gonna take place and involved in the press rather than your chest probably. So it's better to do
I agree.
8 2 times a week than 16 1 times a week for me. Yeah.
I agree. Let me give you one more cheat code that I remember I used to do. I don't do this anymore. I had an app on my phone, and I'm pretty sure it was just called the Anatomy app. And even though I understood the
The
physiology
muscle
and
and motion,
the
the muscle
body,
and motion app
yeah,
is
it might have been
great.
that. And
Muscle and motion, definitely.
I would just reference it before I go in and train.
Yeah.
And now, while I'm hitting these things, I'm just thinking about the visual that I saw of that. I'm thinking about the red fibers that you see on that anatomy, and I'm thinking about it stress, and I'm thinking about it contract just time and time again. The chest is how I liken it to, like a piston and an engine. Like the
Yeah.
chest is like this piston, where it's like a lat is like an accordion, right? It's like you're gonna stretch the accordion, then you pull the accordion back down. And like, those are two areas that people really struggle with. I think a lot. The lats are hard to learn how to train, but again, with the lats, keep your elbows as tight to the body as you possibly can, and like you go underhand, and you're kind of gonna see that really well. Um, One final note before I hand it back to your next question. So, I got the pleasure of, man, it's on his YouTube, 2018 or 2019. Chris Bumstead and I trained at Gym One here in Austin, Texas, a few times, and he was training back when I wasn't training with him on this day. He was in the rack next to me. I was trying to impress him with my 315-pound military press when I still had shitty delts. And he's doing unstrapped, underhand, bent over rows, like 185 pounds. Well, look at his back and look at ours. There's
Yeah.
notes to be taken there. Unstrapped, underhand rows, 185. I remember training with him, and I was like, dude, this guy's mind muscle connection is such a different planet than anyone else's that I've personally ever seen in person. Um, that really gave me a great insight to train. I didn't use it. My ego was way too big to start doing that and lower the weight. But there's just something to be taken from that. If he's using 185, there's not a chance you and I are stronger than him in terms of a mind muscle connection on underhand bent over rows unstrapped. So maybe we should be using 165. But like, kind of sucks to look at the bar and be like, these little ass baby
Yeah.
weights.
Statystyki podpowiadają mi, że duża część osób oglądających ten kanał wciąż go nie subskrybuje. Dlatego jeżeli należysz do tego grona, zasubskrybuj już teraz oraz wpadaj na naszego Discorda. Link znajdziesz w opisie tego filmu. Zapraszam Cię również do wspierania ruchu Zapierdalać Trzeba poprzez zakupywanie merchu oraz szerowanie, udostępnianie i lajkowanie. Wielkie dzięki i wracamy do materiału.
But then you win on stage, it doesn't matter.
I think this is the mostly the hardest things for us as a coaches to make our people realize, just because if there's a guy who lacking on some sort of muscle and you see his training, because for example uh, my guys have to send me the training videos. So if I saw that he is basically gripping and ripping, and then I told him what you told me right now, then I saw the videos of him doing basically a warm-up sets. And this is something that is so hard to explain for those people who have lack their muscle mind muscle connection, because if you have great mind muscle connection, you can basically lowers your weights half in half, and you're probably gonna initiate your muscle and exhaust your muscle twice as much. But if you're still doing it in a manner that is shit volume, you're not only not stimulating your muscle via the weights, but then you are not even creating enough of like a tension to do anything with those warm-ups weights. So they are basically go to the gym doing the warm-ups and go home. So this
Yep.
is something that is so fucking hard to explain for those guys who are over the uh, maybe lives in any other time of the country, or maybe even in the different country, that is difficult. I know that Matt Jensen, uh,
Yep.
tried to tell his guys to do hit on the bike,
Yep. Yep.
just to
I remember
realize
that.
what's the failure that feels like. So maybe it's not a bad idea, but
No,
I
I
can.
love that idea. I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic. You want to know what failure feels like, then do that. I had a bit of a cheat code. I was a Division I sprinter at University of Cincinnati. I got smoked every single race I ran in college, but like, I was a 400-meter runner. Well, at the end of a 400, oh, you know what failure feels like. Like you don't have to guess if you could have given it more. You couldn't possibly. But, athletes, I liken it to like in America, obviously, we do football. Football's a huge thing. It's like, okay, 4th and 1 on the goal line to win the game. How hard are you going to attack the man in front of you? We need to attack the set like that. So then people are like, I do 20 work sets in a day. So you did 20 goal line stand effort sets on that. That is impossible. Guys in
Yeah.
the NFL getting paid millions aren't close to touching that. So it's impossible. So you bring up a good point. I never did that. I remember when he was doing that, I was his athlete and he had me do it. I sent him one set and he's like, all right, we're good. But like track athletes, wrestlers, or like any sort of combat sport person, like they do have a big advantage of understanding like what failure is, and maybe guys who didn't do that, maybe guys. I mean, shit, I'm sure soccer players have a pretty good feel. Like you're running what 4 or 5 miles a game
Yeah.
and sprinting effort, but I think maybe that's something you could do with your guys. Like why not? And then have them record it, have them send it to you, because like true hit is 20 seconds on, 40 seconds off, but the greatest sprinter of all time, Usain Bolt, can't sprint for 20 seconds. So if he can't, you can't
Yeah.
either. And also like ATP, um we have 6 or 7 seconds of like ATP, of full all out everything you have ATP available at any time. Like
Yeah.
it's quite hard to do that. So I think you're onto something there. You should bring that
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, but I think that the most of the off-season heavyweight bodybuilders can basically achieve failure just running through the bus, if
You're
if
right.
they need to. But unfortunately, the most of the time is going to be a hard failure. So probably not a good indicator
You're right.
of the real muscle failure.
You're
But
right.
coming to the next question, how do you like to your guys look throughout the off season? So do you like to keep them fairly lean, or maybe you like to incorporate something like a pretty much like a kind of proper bulking, or
Yep.
just even a hard bulking, blown like a off-season mode? Remember that we are talking about me, so we have to jump over the weight class. So probably we have to realistically bring him around 30, 40 pounds more, maybe not the stage weight, but at least in the off season. So how do you like to achieve that?
Yeah, another great question. You're very good at this, by the way.
Thank you.
So uh, you know, Justin has a biofeedback metric for everything.
That's
I
what I thought
want,
about.
I want, so in America, we do everything on inches because we have to be different than the rest of the world.
Of
I
course.
want your waist circumference to be half or less than half of your height. So, like for me, I'm right at 6 foot, so that's 72 inches, right? So my waist need to stay under 36 inches in the off season. That's pretty tight. You're staying pretty tight by doing that. So, how do we create a shit ton of anabolism to happen while we're staying tight? And after this, I would love to know. So shoot me a message on Instagram. Like just measure your waist and like let's just see where it's at. Although, like I think you look pretty lean. You don't have like inflammation or like fat on your face. So I think you're pretty lean. But we grow better from an insulin sensitized state. Listen, uh, I got 22 IBB Pro cards. I've got 11 IBB Pro wins, 2 Olympia top tens, and I have dirty bulked a lot of people, and it has never worked.
Yeah, okay.
I've never seen this shit work. I've never seen it work. You, you also run into the issue of the strength. The strength, it's not that it's not real, but I'm going to say it's not real. And why is that? Because you have excess water retention that turns into leverage. You know, you might have 10, 15 pounds extra water on you. That's leverage into the load that you're pushing or pulling or lifting that we can't really say that's all your strength. That's all your muscle. Now, could there be a benefit of it from a neuroadaptation standpoint? There could be, but now go back to the HRV check. What's your HRV when you're doing this shit? When you got 15 pounds of extra mass on you that's not body, that's not lean body mass. It's not bone, it's not muscle, it's not connective tissue, it's none of that. Like, what are you going to do as soon as you start prep and that starts coming off? You're gonna lose the weight, you're gonna lose the strength, you're gonna look kind of the same that you did before. So there's not really a lot that I personally don't see a lot that needs that can come from the dirty bulk. And we go back to how can we leverage growth hormone? How can we leverage insulin? What other movers can we leverage? Can we keep you so healthy? This is even a place where you bring in T3 because when you're really pushing it, you're going to see these body temps drop. Why are body temperatures dropping? We already covered all of this. So you're not going to be creating enough ATP to be able to recover, to be able to fuel your body, to fuel your muscles, to fuel the training sessions, to fuel sleep. So tiny little bit of T3 here can be really beneficial in all season two. People think of T3 as a cutting drug. T3 helps you build muscle too. T3 tells the mitochondria to work. So without T3 telling the mitochondria to work, then the upstream from that is going to be real tough to put on a lot of muscle.
Yeah, just to cover the basics, obviously you decided about the T3 from the lab works. Just not to make those guys starts to using 50 micrograms of
Oh,
T3
no.
tomorrow just because they think that's going to bring up their muscle protein synthesis up.
Yeah, we're talking 3 micrograms in the morning and like 3 micrograms maybe in the afternoon. I mean, we're talking a tiny, 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 small little bit of T3.
But
Like,
this is not even a physiological level.
I know because they're not cutting it off. Your body's still going to have to create its own T3. You're not stopping its own
Oh,
T3 production.
I thought that you bringing up that T3 like the monotherapy just because of the GH gonna probably
Ah,
yeah
ah.
yeah
No,
because it's
no.
gonna
So,
increase
so
the T4 T3
conversion.
conversion. Yes, this is the word
Yeah,
that I know was conversion. So the probably it's gonna end it up with a low T4, so that's it's gonna bring down the T3 like substantially. So for those who are converting in not very well, maybe the ionizers are not sufficient, or maybe they are lacking of the absorption of B vitamins, maybe folate or selenium and stuff like that.
yeah,
That could be a problem. So that's the when the monotherapy of T3 comes in a place in my guys. But most
yeah,
likely I'm gonna use the T4 and try to bring up the conversion the best way I can. So probably we're gonna supplement something like selenium, the iodine, and stuff like that. Obviously, but B vitamins, D vitamins, and we're gonna manage the inflammation. We're gonna manage the gut microbiome and stuff like that, just to improve the conversion and
yeah,
deioninize the enzymes. So this is why I thought that you use it. But if not, please explain how to use it.
yeah. So that's a great point that you have with the GH. But again, I'm using it solely for the body temperatures because our body temperature is the most accurate measurement of that mito health. And so as soon as body temps go down, we're not creating the same ATP. And so now our body, now what's the next backfire is an absorption of food. So now we're not putting that food to work. So I'm doing it from kind of a different standpoint. And I love the way you're doing it. I think that's an amazing, amazing way to do it. It's very accurate. Um, so I'm just using it for a different approach. So we're kind of coming at it two different angles here. So I mean, we're talking a tiny little bit, but again, it's going to be the dose gets based off of the body temps. And this is a super short-term thing. This shouldn't be something you rely on like crazy long term in terms of a bodybuilding off season. And I think that there's other modalities to bring in here as well to support this. Like, I talk about the glow peptide all the time. Not sure if you guys have that over there, but that's the BPC 157, TB 500, GHKCU. Like, this is going to think of this as an entire construction crew inside of your body is going to help you repair better. Think about cartering, the GW501516. I
Yeah, the
love saying
PPR agonist. Yeah.
yeah, like that one's going to be fantastic. It's going to help your VO2 max increase. I mean, you get to train, maybe you get some more reps out of your training session. It's going to help your recovery when VO2 max is higher, but also that helps your mitochondria simply create more ATP and helps mitochondria biogenesis. So if we get more mitochondria inside of a healthy muscle cell, like wow, we can definitely grow more, right?
Yeah.
So cartering, huge cheat code. Um, SS31 is great, binds to cardiolipin inside of the
Yeah.
mitochondrial membrane, so it allows more ATP to be converted. It allows a much easier conversion of it as well. And all of these things also can pull down the reactive oxygen species, which drive inflammation, which drive things like gut dysbiosis, stagnant liver bile, brain fog. Like we get to alleviate all these things. So, back to your original question we talked about, like I think this is why my guys are able to keep drugs lower because we just leverage these other things like
Yeah.
ancillaries and peptides to be able to get, to that next level. Um, I've
This
never
is
been
like,
big on, sorry, go
yes,
ahead.
sorry that I interrupt you, but
No, you're good.
sounds like Victor Black methods, but like 2.0 because he is just using a lot of different derivative of different compounds. So like DHT plus nandrolone plus testosterone base, just to link it up the three pathways, and you are doing
Yeah.
the same, but using basically non-androgenic compounds to create some sort of synergy. And we both know that synergy not is not 1 + 1 = 2, but more like a 1 + 1 = X amount.
Yeah, equals three. I mean, compound effect. I
Yeah.
think compounding effect is powerful. I'm also
Polypharmacy.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love scaling companies, and that's taught me so much about bodybuilding, which is insane. There's a compounding effect that you have from bodybuilding that honestly correlates everywhere in life, correlates to social relationships, business building, your romantic relationship. How much can you compound effect? And you do start seeing, oh, 1 + 1 kind of equals 2.5, or 1 + 1 might equal
Yeah.
3. But, like that's kind of cool when you get to that side. I dislike the term biohacking because what it's turned into, but it's like, how do we hack your biology to get the absolute most out of the least? Because I mean, dude, we all know. We all know that heavy androgen use long term, there's just problems that can come from it. I'm not worried about like the prostate stuff. I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is left ventricle hypertrophy. What I'm worried about is brain deterioration.
Yeah.
Like I'm worried about those things way more than the other stuff. Um, Fertility can be brought back, somewhat simply if you're really dialed in getting that back. But you think about the downstream effects that anabolics do change your genetics a bit too, which is absolutely wild. Um, but it's like there's just lots to take into account here. And I don't know if peptides do. I don't know if cartering does. Peptides are amino acid sequences. I mean,
Yeah.
amino acids, aren't we eating those in our diet? Like again, it's not that simple. It's not that straightforward,
It's
but
not,
also like
yeah.
it's not that it's not, but it's not that it is.
Yeah, yeah. It's not, it's for those guys who listen, it is not different EAAs. They're
Yeah,
not
it's
just
different than essential amino acids.
definitely, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, that's
so
funny.
let me combine the question number 5 and 4 and 6, just because we are in a question 4 and it's 18 questions. So
Let's see. Let's
so
go.
yeah, but this is like a question about the diet, because first of all I wanted to assess with you how do you count your macros, because there are coaches who are counting only the direct sources, and there are coaches who are counting everything. So, for example, some guys counting the protein only from the meats, for example, and some guys counted it from oats, from pastas, rice, and stuff like that. So, how do you count your macros?
So if it's not a complete protein source, or we don't have complete protein sources all coming into the body at once, then the amino acids that come in that aren't complete aren't going to be put towards muscle building. Now, something I'm not 100% sure on is, okay, let's say we have a meal with complete protein sources and then some incomplete protein sources. Do we like bridge the gap here? Does that get used? I don't know. I do direct sources. What is the direct protein? Like obviously, carbs and fats are much more universal, if you will, but I just do direct protein.
Okay.
I don't see reason to count legumes as muscle building protein. Like we're trying to get gigantic. I'm trying to put 30 pounds on you. Like beans
Yeah.
aren't going to move the needle.
Oh, Justin Campton will not agree with
Oh,
you.
really?
Yeah, because I know he's combining the beans with his beef a lot of times during the off seasons just to decrease the amount of meat he used, and he says
Well,
that
shit,
he
it worked
works
for
very
him.
well for him. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he's bigger
definitely.
than I ever was, so we'll go
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah, so that's a really good point that you are counting only the protein from direct sources. So let's say for a guy like me, 230. So for the people guys out there who are from more Europe, there's gonna be around 102, 103 kilos, something like that. So how many grams or pounds of protein you like me to use?
Yeah, this is another great question. So, I used to be the guy who's like 400 grams of protein,
Yeah,
and
me
I
too.
never really saw more growth from that. So like, can we hit? I hate the generic, but I actually do think it's pretty accurate. If we can hit a gram a day and have amino acid diversity, it's something I'm huge on. So can we have fish sources, different red meat sources? Can we have white meat? Like, can we have all these different can we have amino acid diversity? And I think that's going to get us, I know I've seen it. That gets us much further than like only chicken or only tilapia or only whatever the case may be. But also we can leverage carbohydrates to be somewhat anabolic in nature as well, right? If we have carbohydrate store in the body, which is why I think injectable L-carnitine in the all season is amazing for us. And obviously during prep as well. We're talking about all season right now. Because that allows us to preserve more carbohydrate in the muscle, use more fat for energy. That opens up the pathway, right, for fat to easily get to the mitochondria, be used for energy. So if we can keep carbohydrates into the muscle and we can keep all your biofeedback metrics pretty dang good, there's going to be some anabolism in nature just simply happening from that. So now we're kind of capping it off with the protein. Obviously, we have the androgens in play. We have the GH synergy, the insulin in play. So I also have just seen so many times like, man, it takes a lot of stomach acid to break down the protein, right? Protein does have byproduct, especially in a really high diet. There's byproduct of ammonia breakdown that can cross the blood-brain barrier, cause some brain fog, and like your brain performance isn't something we ever really want to sacrifice, man. Because you go back to the HRV, you go back to the neuro response to stimulus. So I'm really a lower protein guy now. I really am. It's something that I do big in peak week too, is I pull protein down quite a bit. Because I mean, dude, it I think that it stresses the digestion more than anything else when it's crazy high.
So let's say
Well,
for
not more than anything else. Super high fiber will stretch the digestion, I think, worse than the protein will. But
yeah. So let's say for a guy like me, it's gonna be around 230 gram of protein daily.
I would say around 230.
So
Yeah.
so it's
You
gonna
might
be
be
like
surprised it's even 200.
40 to 50 grams of protein if I have 5 meals a day.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, so
And
it's
it's
decent
easy to
amount.
digest that too. And I don't like my guys force feeding. And it's like, man, like we got 300 grams of beef to eat this meal. Like, dude, no one wants to eat
Yeah.
300 grams of beef. Nobody. Like that's a
Yeah.
ton of beef. Uh, so, we go back to the digestive processes, like what feels good for our body to be able to digest. Um, we want to work with it, not against it. And, in bodybuilding, you're already working quite against it by growing super physiological muscles. So,
So how about the carbs and fats? Because there are guys who are using shit ton of fats because they think that it's I don't know how, but it helps. And
yep.
some guys I just don't like the fats at all. For example, Roman Fritz is a guy who are not touch direct like source of fats from probably couple years right now,
Yeah.
unless we are counting chocolates and cakes during
Wow.
the
Yeah.
loading phases.
Yeah, I like a good bit of fat because I like, we need cholesterol. I like saturated fat in there. Cholesterol is good. Cholesterol helps our body repair. Cholesterol helps. It's not that we don't need the sex hormone downstream. We need the repair downstream from these things. Um, I, I I'm pretty big on 70 to 90 grams somewhere in there is going to be pretty dang good. I don't like doing meals with high fat and high carb in them both. Driving, if we're trying to drive insulin up and then we have this high fat diet as well, I'm not quite sure I trust where that fat's going to end up. But I have my people cook everything in coconut oil. So all meats are cooked in coconut oil. And coconut oil is amazing for our digestion as well. Super, super good there. Uh, and then carbohydrates, we know we need to refuel carbohydrates post training. This isn't really something that's like super rocket science, in my opinion. We need to replenish there. So we're going to have lower carbs there. Maybe we'll have um, lower fat there. So maybe we'll have 80, 100 grams of carbs. Like what can you stomach in that meal? We'll have maybe 8, 10 grams fat that meal. First thing in the morning is definitely when I like having more fats than not, especially from the saturated fats. It's like some beef, some whole eggs. I like that. But again, anytime we do too much of something, it's going to backfire. We start going up to that 110, 120-gram fat a day. That's a lot of fat. And also, you're probably going to be getting fat because you have to have the higher carbohydrate intake as well to fuel these training sessions, to fuel our metabolism. So I like splitting them up. Let's say meal one and last meal of the day is going to be something like a 25-gram fat meal, 30-gram fat meal, lower carbohydrates there. Then the middle meals, 2, 3, 4, are going to be the higher carbohydrate meals. Like what can you handle? Can you handle 100? Can you handle 120? It's usually easier to eat carbs. I enjoy using the fruits. I enjoy hitting these micronutrients. Some sauteed veggies that are pretty well cooked. I like doing that, but we do want to cook those pretty dang well. A lot of vegetables have lectin in it, makes it just a little harder to digest. It's just protective of them. They're trying to protect themselves from predators that want to eat them, right? So let's break them down pretty good, saute those up. But you know, I want to see real high micronutrients. I like diversity. Can we hit 9 different food sources in a day? Like, man, if we can, we're probably doing pretty good on the micronutrient front.
Yeah. I'm big on diversity as well, but something that I am probably never gonna understand, and if you can explain it for me, I will be so happy about that because uh, I don't get why so many coaches from United States still using a lot of saturated fat with their guys who are using PEDs because it makes sense for guys who are natural. Probably
Yeah.
because we are need cholesterol because cholesterol is basically a buildup for the sex hormones. That's obvious. We have like a cholesterol ring that is just simply needed to create, for example, testosterone. But
Yeah.
other than that, for guys who are on PEDs and who give their testosterone and other hormones from the outside, it is seems to biological useless at this point because we are I would more tends to unsaturated and such and polyunsaturated fats like mufas pufas more than saturated fat. To be honest, I would limit the saturated fat as much as it possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you
So
use that much of saturated fat?
I love this question, and it reminds me I need to make another content piece on this. So while I explain this, I am going to take a little note here that's inspired by you. Um,
I'm glad that I can inspire you to
so,
something.
a few things here. Number one, we understand because Justin has completely eliminated the belief that LDL is bad for us, right?
Yeah.
So it
L
does
oh,
raise LDL particle count. LDL carries cholesterol into things like Leydig cells, our adrenal cortex. Every cell in the body
you says
needs
LDL or HDL because HDL is
LDL,
actually okay.
LDL, LDL. Yeah, the one that's supposed to be bad.
Yeah, yeah,
LDL,
I know, but
yeah,
I thought that we both like not me and you, but the science right now are agreeing more that the HDL is probably useless to even track because HDL is even a low HDL is a marker of basically nothing, but
yeah.
the high LDL is actually something that we supposed to, I think, be scared of.
So I track the triglyceride HDL ratio. Have you ever seen me talk about that?
No, but triglycerides, I think it's more like a sugar related than to be honest, than fat related.
So, triglyceride is going to be a measure of how much, let's put it super layman terms, how much fat's going around our bloodstream at any given time. HDL is protective of our vascular system. And then LDL is it's a transporter of many things in our body, and it helps the immune system significantly. So that's kind of how we break it down. So that triglyceride HDL ratio, super important for me. I like my guys around as close to 1 as possible, but like under 2 is considered good. And over 2, that's where we see, and we do have the data for this now as well, finally. Like we see the cardiometabolic health is the absolute worst, the higher that triglyceride HDL reading goes. But we also know cardiometabolic health is pretty dang bad when LDL is low too. What we're chasing is ApoB. If ApoB is going to be high when we have poor metabolic health. So again, like we're tying
Yeah,
this back into that metabolic health, right? So LDL gets thrown into the body when damage occurs inside of our vascular system, right? Think of LDL as like a putty. Like when you're building a house, you gotta put putty on the bricks to like put the next brick down. So there's damage that gets caused. LDL gets poured into that damage and stays there because it's not allowing more damage to occur at that site. Well, now there's all this damage happening in metabolically unhealthy people. So this LDL is just being poured everywhere in the body. And now, there's this belief that it's super bad because it's constricting how much room blood has to go through the bloodstream, when in reality it's just responding to the poor metabolic health that caused the issue in the first place, right? So when we talk about the saturated fats, is think about it stiffens the membrane. So any cell membrane, saturated fat is directly responsible for that. The sheath in our brain, saturated fat is what builds that. When you have more stiff membranes, it's going to make your steroid receptors more responsive. So it makes drugs literally work better. Inside, it converts to pregnenolone still. Guys who go on, guys who have like roid rage or like really negative response to trenbolone, they're going to be low pregnenolone. Well, saturated fat inside of the mitochondria, the cholesterol gets pulled into the inner membrane, which is where this gets converted into pregnenolone, which that's the first step. Yeah, to testosterone. Well, we're controlling testosterone. Well, it's still a first step into cortisol as well. It fuels bile movement. So our liver, having this stuck bile, saturated fat's going to promote that to work through. Um, it's going to promote healthy DHT conversion from testosterone. You say, well, like I'm on testosterone and I'm on DHT. Well, we still have DHT byproducts like androsterone, for example, that need to be made in our body. Um, Lowers cell membrane fluidity, improves insulin signaling significantly. But if we have too much saturated fat, then yeah, we're going to become insulin resistant from that too. So we we don't want to go up to this crazy amount of it. But man, I think saturated fat crazy important for us to have even in the off season because of those factors.
Okay. Yeah, but this saturated fat is something that is probably sometimes misunderstood because some people think that eggs are saturated fat only, and it's not working that way. Especially even meats, if you're using something like grass-fed beef or something like that, it
Yep.
is not only saturated fat. So you have to remember that. But it makes sense that way. But I would still probably use pregnenolone just for the allopregnenolone conversion and protective of your brain, and probably uses something like Tutka for your bile, uh,
I do the
helping
same
rather
thing.
than
And
the shit
what
tons of fats.
one more note to make. I do the same thing. I just take some freaking
Yeah.
pregnenolone.
Yeah.
I do eat a good bit of I eat a lot of saturated fat now, but you do want to, I don't want to say pair it because pair it makes it sound like it's going to be in the same meal. It could be, but you want to have monounsaturated fats as well, like olive oil,
Yeah, definitely.
avocado, macadamia nut oil.
I think that the most important thing is to track your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio in that regards, just because this is something that is probably going to be determined your overall health, including your inflammation, to be honest. So this is something that we have to track as well. Yeah, the monounsaturated fat is and polysaturated fats are really the stuff that we have to focus on, I think, the most.
I agree, but I don't want my people cooking with the like macadamia oils or the olive oils because I mean they have a low smoke point, easy to
Oh,
oxidize.
olive oils have
Um,
very high smoke points, to be honest.
Not, but when you're cooking it with beef, when you're cooking it in a meal, you're still going to reach that smoke point unless you cook it super low heat. I guess I cook fast. That's why I prefer coconut oil because it has a real high
Okay.
smoke point. We don't
Yeah,
want to start
definitely.
oxidizing the fats. You start oxidizing them, we're kind of breaking down what their benefits are. So if you're going to cook with them, I just keep it on lower heat. I think olive oil can go medium heat. I just turn my
Quite,
shit on
quite,
high and I
quite,
throw the,
quite high, quite high. Olive
yeah,
oil is actually quite high smoke point, so it is pretty safe to cook on olive oil, macadamia nut oil, and avocado oil not. So
the avocado oil
don't do it,
is
guys.
super low,
Yeah,
super
don't do
low.
it,
I like
guys.
turning I turn my stove on high, like all the way up. And I just throw
Yeah.
some coconut oil in there and some beef and like I don't like wasting time. I like it being done
Yeah.
ASAP.
Okay, so we covered that. Uh, when it comes to the overall week, do you like to incorporate some sort of the calorie rotation, or do you like to keep your guys on basic diet, or maybe just basic because nowadays the training, non-training days is pretty much basic?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. I so I work with very, very, very advanced people. I'm grateful. I only work with 8 clients anymore because of what ECA's done. But all 8 of my people are crazy advanced. So like keep that in mind when I say for the listeners, what I say when I say next, man, I like giving my people a little hybrid approach. So we'll make 2 diets and go ahead.
I just want to remember you that we are talking about me still.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We're
so
talking about you.
let's just squeeze it in
So you're going to be very
into my
advanced too.
approach.
Like you're a very advanced trainee. Like you're just like the people I work with. We do this hybrid approach. Like here's 2 diets. The 2 diets are very similar. They're micronutrient makeup. We're not going to swap. So you can't do meal 1 from this diet, meal 2 from this diet, meal 3. How we sequence diets is going to be like based on the previous meal, whatever the goal is,
Yeah.
right? So you can do this day or you can do this day. But I love a hybrid approach of like, dude, you know how to eat. Like, you know what a good thing to put in your body and a bad thing to put in your body is. I enjoy my people having, do you have kids?
No.
Okay, so what like one difference is I would still do this for you. I just like have my people have a day. Just have a day. Go fuel your body. Go fuel your body with what feels right, what you want to eat, and just be present in the moment. Kids or no kids, they just go be present. So I love having that flex day. We're not really tracking, but we are fueling our body for performance. This isn't funnel cakes and ice cream. This is fuel your body for performance. What do you want? And you know what? I trust you. You're advanced. You're jacked. You have goals. You know what? You want to have a little bit of ice cream, have a little bit of ice cream, but can we get an ice cream that has like some A2 whole milk and maybe some coconut oil as a base? Like, can we make a smart? In America, we have Van Leeuwen ice cream. And like that one's actually not bad. It's like, can we just make good decisions? So that's how I like doing things. I like having mental freedom for you I think it makes us hungry to get back on track too. So there'd be two diets. So you can hit this one or this one. I don't care which one you hit on the day. It's going to be one of these. And then one day a week, we're going to identify, this can be your flex day. This can be your hybrid day.
So if those days gonna be different calorie wise, because I I don't know how you set up your diets, but some guys are just don't give their guys the macros. So if I see only the food sources, I probably can guess exactly how much carbs, fats, etc. It is in those meals. But if there's gonna be a difference, because for example, I like to run my guys a little bit or even really low carbs on the rest days and high fat diets just to bump it up their fats during the weeks, and then the training days is mostly carbs and almost zero to none or a moderate fats. So in those days they might be really similar calorie wise, but there's going to be huge difference in the food sources. Some if for example, one guy wanted to switch the days, and in one in breakfast it's 150 grams of oats and egg whites, and in the second one is six whole eggs and
I
100
see what you're
grams of
saying.
2080 beef. It's gonna
Yeah,
be rather
way
different.
different. Yeah, way different.
Yeah,
We definitely keep the macros and the micros very similar, like meal to meal. Or I should say, like on the day and meal to meal, the macros are going to be pretty dang similar. But remember, a huge thing for me, as it is for you, it sounds like too, is just that food source diversity, that microbiome adapting to different food sources and being able to put anything in it and it's going to break it down perfectly for us. This is a huge thing for me. And so, it also it depends on the client. It sounds like you're the type of client that wants to be kind of told exactly what to do. It's like if we're communicating, it's like, hey, I don't want to flex day. I want to be told exactly what to do. I'm
yeah,
going to tell you exactly what to do. And I I enjoy just allowing. I enjoy trusting you. I enjoy trusting my people, and it also shows me how serious you are. Like, you went to the state fair. I don't know if you guys have state like fairs over there. Like you went to the state fair, you smashed fried Oreos and funnel cakes, and like what that day you're not that serious. Doesn't mean you're not serious overall, but that day you're not that serious. So now you can't complain about the next 3 days. Also, I've never had somebody do that, so I know you wouldn't do that. um, but it also depends on what the client likes. So then, like for you, we'll have those two hybrid diets, and then um, what we would do is we would set a diet for that day, and then so I like again. You bring up a great point, which I definitely subscribe to, is like having super low carbs on the non-train days. But how we have things set up with all the data that gets like auto tracked for our clients is well, we can also base on the HRV. Let's say that we get to a rest day and the HRV is 36, like, damn, I can't pull carbs down super low. I need to fuel the hell out of this body. And also I need to give you a little bit of mental freedom. And like, I don't know about you, speaking for myself, I like jasmine rice more than I like smashing more beef. So like again, it depends on the person. Like um if you love smashing more beef than jasmine rice, like HRV is a nervous system response. So what does the client need? What do you need to get that HRV up? And that's kind of where we'd go from there.
yeah. For me, it depends on what's the period of the year, because we both know that there's a very strange periods during the last weeks of the prep that you would kill for fats because you basically have maybe one whole eggs throughout the
Yep.
6 days.
Yep.
So if you solo on the fats, then you'll be killed for that
Yeah.
beef,
So
to
I'll
be
also say
honest.
if we're in a contest prep, you ain't choosing shit. I'm choosing everything for you.
Yeah, yeah.
I, I'm telling you
Okay,
exactly what to do there.
okay. So you take your point of the cheat meals. So basically, if you trust in me and I have one fun day during the week that covers the cheat meal question, so I'm not going to ask about that. But what about the mini cuts in the off season? Do you incorporate it regularly, or it is depends on how I look, or maybe how I feel, maybe how I digest, maybe my HRT, maybe my body temperature. I don't know. Maybe you have some sort of like a data
I
that
love
you track to incorporate the mini cats.
I love this, and I'm glad you brought it up because we were talking about something earlier, and I was like, "Shit, I should have talked about how I approach the waist circumference thing." I was like, "Dude, I should have covered how I do mini cuts." So let's say that we get to a place where that waist circumference is on the line of over half, but like, dude, you're still getting stronger, and like, you feel really good, and your sleep latency is great, and your HRV's in the 50s, and like, why pull back at that point? But we know we should pull back soon because you're also, you're on the other end of where biology starts fighting us a bit, right? So, love mini cuts. Now, what I've been doing and what I would do with you, because you're very advanced and you're very serious. I don't know if you've used it or know much about it. I'm actually very involved with some stuff going on with this. You know what I'm about to say in America right now. But dude, retatrutide is the biggest hack to a mini cut and resensitizing of all time. Holy cow! Like I'm seeing guys just we get to use it for a week or two, whereas a mini cut's going to be 4 to 6, 4 to 8. It depends. We use it for a week or two. We get to get everything back where we need it to be, and then we get to throttle up again. Man, it's a huge cheat code for your off season. So yes, I love using it, and also you only use it for a week or two. Your strength's not going to go down much. Near the end of that second week, it might, but also during a mini cut, we want to keep strength as much as possible. Not concerned about you getting stronger because I know what happens on the other side of the mini cut is you're about to get way stronger. So when I mini cut in the off season, I would pull back your training. I would push the cardio up a bit. I'd bring in retatrutide. The dosing would be dependent on kind of where we're at. It's kind of hard to give a roundabout, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I view it as we're priming your nervous system for what's about to happen when we come out of this too. So that's why I want to pull training back a tad. We're going to go in, we're going to stimulate. I'm going to take time off. I'm going to give you a cap. You get to go in, you put a 45-minute timer on your phone. At 45 minutes, you're done training for the day. We're priming everything for the next push. And then they said 1 to 2, I should really say like 10 to 14 days. I don't think it's ever been 7 days in the people I've done this with. So say 10 to 14 days. We did assess where you're at, and it's like, well, shit, we just took 1.5 inches off your waist. Blood glucose dropped like this. HRVs recovered. Um, we're pretty good to go. Out of that, for you, we're going to push the drugs a bit at that point. We're definitely going to be pushing the drugs a little bit first few weeks coming out of that. Um, your body gets so sensitive. It just gets so sensitized to everything and just fucking ready to put it to work, man. Like it's cool what we're seeing with that. And I like it a lot. And then
Okay.
you get back to the weight that you were at before the cut and you just look way different.
Okay. Okay. So makes sense.
Yeah.
So how about the cardio during the off season? Do you like to stay on it year round, or you like to maybe pull out, pull in when it's needed? How do you like to set it up?
I like keeping the cardio up just because, if you have healthy cardio, you have healthy heart. And like, dude, I love bodybuilding. You love bodybuilding, but we love it right now. You're 31, I'm 32. We need to think about 65. We need to think about 70. Now, I do think about that with my people. I do think that when I was younger, it held me back a little bit as a coach because there was stuff that I wouldn't push to the extent that I need to push it at because I feel like I have a responsibility of your life too. And I like keeping cardio up, man. Like if we're not able to give if we're not able to give 15, 20 minutes of effort to cardio, um, it doesn't need to be daily. It needs to be what, 4 or 5, maybe daily. See, a lot of guys, I think you'd be one of the guys, you just want the routine.
Yeah,
So like, okay, if we're routine in this thing, then can we get 15 minutes daily? No one ever lost muscle from 15 minutes of cardio a day. And if you did, you train like a pussy and you eat like a pussy. Excuse my French. But like you're not getting smaller from that. It helps keep your heart healthy. Your heart's healthy. You can pump blood into muscles better. You can transfer nutrients that you take in from your diet better, and you're going to grow more.
yeah.
So I'm not a guy that likes pulling cardio out, man. I personally don't think it makes a ton of sense. And like I said, bodybuilders are creatures of habit. And so let's just have the habit. Because also it's easy to take 5 days off training and get back into the gym and train.
Yeah,
It's hard to take 5 days off cardio and be like, you know what, I'm gonna do cardio today. Like, let's just stay in the habit.
definitely. So, how about the PEDs in the off season? Because you says already that for a guy like me, it's not gonna be super high. So probably around 900 to maybe 1200. This is like probably sweet spot for you. And obviously, how about the GH in that regards? And what are the compounds that you like to incorporate in that periods, and maybe some compounds that you definitely would like to avoid?
Yeah, not a big equipoise guy. I'm really not. I've never put equipoise in somebody being like, wow, look what that did. That's just me. Um, Not a huge Deca guy. I used to be much more anti it than I am now. I've definitely put Deca in people and seen like, oh shit, this did some good stuff. Don't love some of the blood pressure effects. Don't love some of the water retention effects, but there's workarounds for that. In my opinion, I like MPP a little bit better. I do like Trestolone, low dose Trestolone in some short bursts. Wow, that's intense, but short burst, low dose, and only for very advanced people like yourself. If you're someone who listens to this and if you're under 200 pounds, I don't think you're not there yet. That's a very advanced one. And it's very good when it's used appropriately. The growth hormone, that's going to be our thing. You and I are going to have a conversation financially. How good are we to
As
use
much
this?
as you wanted to.
I have actually, man, I've trained hundreds and hundreds of people. I don't think I've ever taken someone over 6 IUs of growth hormone because also I'm not sure that's super necessary when all other items are aligned. And dude, like 6 IUs, I like dosing growth hormone 1 IU at a time, multiple times throughout the day. That's just how I like doing it. So the growth hormone is going to be a big thing. Uh, Insulin, I'm open to all of them. The short acting all the way up to long acting, I'm open. It's just going to depend on the person. For you, what I can see of you, I'm going to be using some Humalog. I really enjoy that. We're going to be using some injectable carnitine alongside that. Just might as well. Like, why not? Uh, Obviously testosterone, duh. But man, dude, I get giddy about Anadrol. I love Anadrol. I mean, holy cow, holy cow.
Oral
I love
or
Anadrol.
injectable?
Dude, I've never used injectable.
Okay, I do.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, I would highly prefer that, but I've only used oral. Use that for a short bit of time. I love the Anadrol, man. That's my favorite.
Do you
As far as
try the
H,
Anadrol Anavar rotation?
so I use Anavar, but I've never used it on rotation. Teach me
This is
on
a
that.
great idea. This is a great idea to for the off season for guys who struggle with their eating, because if you are rotating each day, you can actually prolong the use of it without the potentially side effects. So I saw that guys can use quite a bit of it and for a long period of time without impacted as much on the lipids and as much of the digestion. So this is something
That's
that is
genius.
really yeah, this is really cool to utilize. So you can
I've
definitely
never heard
try
of
it.
that before.
Yeah, I stole it from mm, Ole Christian Vaga.
Yep. Yep. I know you're
Yeah,
talking about.
he's
Wow.
using it, and this is I've tried it many times, and it works very well. So you can definitely
Incredible.
try it. Yeah,
Dude, I love that. Yeah, that's great. It makes so much sense in theory.
yeah, definitely.
Um, let's see. Yeah, man, really with PEDs, I've always been pretty straightforward as I'm not doing anything that crazy with it. I want to make the PEDs work as well in the body as they possibly can.
So can I ask you about just an example of stack that you put it from me for the off season? Obviously, we have to assume that I am gonna react it for it perfectly because
Yep.
if we're gonna make a thousand scenarios what could go wrong that we probably not set up anything for at least a couple of hours, but let's say that you can use everything you wanted to from the PDs, peptides, the GH insulin, anything you like to utilize for the off season for me. So what would be the stack for me that you've been run on?
I love this. Let me make a note while I'm doing this. So we're going to be using first. Obviously, we're going to have the testosterone base. Let's say we're going to go. Actually, writing things down more. Let's say we're going to go a 700T, enanthate, cypionate. Dude, I don't really care. What do you prefer?
Who cares?
Uh, let's say so injectable anadrol. You like that? So we're going to be training. Let's say we train 4 days a week. Okay. Uh, Injectable anadrol is going to hit much harder than oral. So do you dose that at 25?
To be honest, I don't remember even what the dose. I think it was 15 per milliliter or something like that. So probably
Oh,
I
even
was
better.
using, yeah, so probably I was using like 25 before the workout and then 25 orally at the night, something like that, because I used to you like to utilize injectable pre-workout. It
I
hits
love that.
faster. Yeah.
So I'm going to steal your idea and we're going to alternate every day, but we're going to match that Anavar to it. So we're going to go 45 Anadrol. We're going to go 45 VAR. That's injectable too.
No, that was oral, but I always run Anadrol a little bit higher from the lack of the androgen like a binding because it binds pretty poorly. Like Anavar binds pretty in
Yeah.
higher amounts. So I would use probably 50-25 or 30-60, something like that.
So let's say in this hypothetical belt right now 700 let's keep it 45 so I don't have to redo my math. I'm not a
Yeah,
mathematician.
okay.
Let's do the 700T, the 45 draw, the 45 var. We're now at 790. Okay. So 790 gives us some good leeway. So because I love the trust alone, we're going to hit that 20 every other day. So it's going to be 60 trusts on the week. We're now at 830. And because we're only at 830, I'm going to add another 100 to the T. So now we're at 800T, 45 draw, 45 VAR. This is on the week, 60 trust. Now we're going to have 6 IU, GH. You know what I've noticed with GH? I see zero difference in dosing it daily versus every other day, even though every other day, obviously, you get like half of the dose through the week. So I'm going to save you some money. And we're going to do
But zero
six
difference in what? In IGF?
and IGF readings and progress and recovery and really everything.
Do you
So I have
see
my
the
guys dose
difference
every
in
other day.
administration? Because you said that you like to use it a couple times a day. Do you see the difference? Because I am testing it right now, doing the GH only at night, and I
Yeah.
saw that my blood glucose during the day is so freaking low. Because if you're using GH couple times a day, like I was used to, your glucose throughout the day is gonna be much higher.
Yeah, yeah. So I like doing the 1 IU, like spread throughout the day. And for the blood glucose, it's an amazing point. That's why we use insulin alongside of it too, right? So you're pretty insulin sensitive, I would say. So right now our stack 800 tests. This is all across the week. 800 tests, 45 draw, 45 VAR, 60 tress, 6 IU growth hormone. We're going to do that 3-4 times per week. 3-4 times per week. And then let's use 2 on train days of, I mean, it's hard to give a Humalog dose. I don't know. We'll use Humalog. We'll use it a couple of times a day on train days. I can't really give a
Okay.
dose. It wouldn't be
Of
super.
course, of course.
I hear me. So now we have the androgens in play. So I'm gonna have you on cardarine. 20 mgs a day is like pretty standard, pretty good place
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be.
usually year round. So
Yeah, we're gonna be using that cardarine. We're gonna be using the glow peptide. So obviously that's the combo peptide. So we recon
DPCTB 500, yeah,
and
GHK, KCU.
GHK. So we're going to be reconning that in 2 mLs backwater. We're going to do 0.2, 3 to 4 times per week. Um, I mean, at this point, it would kind of be the fancy stuff like the epitalin, keep your HRV well, keep your nervous system good. Like, that could be something. Um, DSIP, short term, delta sleep
Delta
inducing
sleep inducing
peptide.
peptide, yeah, using year
Um,
round as well.
Do you? I
Yeah.
don't love the year round, but when Imminent Zenith drops tomorrow, you should try some of that. But only because only reason I don't, it's not like it's bad. It's Justin just being Justin. It's because I want to get to sleep at the root calls. Um, so we'll use the DSIP.
Yeah, but it's actually not helping you fall asleep. It's just giving you a deeper sleep throughout the night. So it's really good to use it like a low dose, like
Yeah.
150 to 150 mix, like hour before the sleep. It's gonna just prolongs the REM sleep, actually.
So have you ever injected GABA?
Yes, because we have something called sleep
Yep.
from a company that I am sponsored with, so you can use my code. This
Let's
is something
go.
somewhere here.
Go get
So yeah,
it.
so it has GABA, injectable GABA out there, and if I've used it, but it's also have a couple more amino acids out there. So
Yep.
not really sure what works. Then
Yeah,
yeah,
the injectable GABA, that shit, man, I take it and I get this tingly feeling all of a sudden I'm out. Dude, I think we have a great setup here right now. Also, the cardarine is going to help with the lipids. The glow is going to rebuild our body. The DSIP's going to make sure that we're staying in a deep sleep. We got the GH covered, the SLINs covered the glucose. We got the TRES covered, a little progestin activity, the VAR, the anadrol, the testosterone that we're pretty well set up there. I like that. So I
yeah.
may say we'll do epitalin here and there. We'll do some SS31 here and there, but that's not going to be something that's like, you know, I like running them in like 10 to 20 day spurts. Um,
Yeah.
like man, we're pretty dialed there. But see, like something that I'm also going to have you do is like you're going to wake up, you're going to get sun in your eyes, you're going to take your fucking feet off and go walk on the earth. Like you're going to do these little tiny things that a
Grounding.
lot of bodybuilders, yeah, you're going to do the things that a lot of bodybuilders don't like doing. But then when you do them for an off season, you're like, whoa, hang on, it actually works.
Yeah, definitely. I'm realizing more and more about how the basics is really works because we are just starting right now, depending on so many outside like peptides, stuff like
I
that,
know.
and we just starting to forget about how the fucking like blueberries are actually something that could improve your mitochondrial health.
Yep.
It is so freaking funny, but it is. It's like
Yep.
cocoa powder. It is something that could
Yep.
actually help you probably more than your I don't know, vitamin stocks and
Yep.
stuff like that. So this is something so basic,
I
and you
know.
can. And we just neglect it because you can feel it. It's not like you
Yep.
are eat a tablespoon of coconut and you're now start to feeling, I don't know, tingling on your skin or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we just forget that it works for a long, long period of time. And our
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
grandpas know that for years.
Yep.
So
Isn't that
yeah,
funny?
so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's this.
If we all just started getting sunlight in our eyes and grounding, and we just started there every single day, my God, as an owner of a supplement company, supplement sales would go way down.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Don't, don't people who are listening, don't get us wrong. All of these things are fun and great and helpful, but as long as we are not improving the basic stuff, it's like building house without the basics.
Yep.
I forget the word, but you know, both knows what I mean. Like
Yep.
yeah. So if you don't have the base, you're probably not gonna build anything out there. So we have to remember about that. So another question that I have to ask you, how high you keep your guys in terms of estrogen? Do you like to suppress it a lot? Do you like to keep it high? Maybe it's related through the androgens. How do you like to assess it?
Yep, great question. So, with the estrogen, man, it's going to be really dependent on the person. But remember, estrogen helps us with bone health, helps us with ligament health, helps us with IGF. So if we're using GH and we're super low estrogen, then I don't have data in front of me to know like this is the exact difference that it makes, but like, dude, it does make a difference in there. And we want to maximize this phase, right? So, where do they feel best at?
Actually, I have
40
the
to
data right here. I have
60?
printed
Really?
example. Yeah, here.
Yeah. Like, do they feel best at like 40 to 60? I don't know. Like, I don't know where they feel so it's going to be like, where do they just feel the most stable at? And if we can get them feeling the most stable, then that's going to be where we keep it. Um, you know, it's going to depend on the person, but most people, I mean, 40 to 60, I don't really see a need to go over 60. Now during a contest prep, yeah, we're probably going to pull it down a bit, right? We're probably not going to have the estrogen crazy freaking high. I don't see need for it at the end of a contest prep, but I don't think we need to pull it down. I think that that's overblown.
Okay. So do you use the AI to manage the estrogen, or you basically gonna lowers the testosterone of mine as low as it shows in the tests? Obviously, I am using the super sensitive test for the estrogen because for those guys who don't know, many compounds are actually my shows as an estradiol on your
Yeah.
exams, so you have to remember to do the extra ultra sensitive tests. But uh, taking in regards that 700 mix of tests probably is going to raise it up my testosterone. Do you use AI or lower the test?
We'll use some AI here and there, but I don't like using it super long term. I like using the imminent bile boost. Obviously, I made that when I made it for this issue, exactly like the calcium deglucarate. See, a big thing with estrogen too is if estrogen's recirculating in your body,
Yeah.
not going to be great. Well, that's when it gets turned into things like estrone. So there's E1, E2, E3. The E2 is the estradiol, like you're talking about. You know this. It's more so educating the
Yeah.
team, if you will, the people, the listeners. So I want to manage it through first. Do we have really good liver health? And if we have really good liver health, and that's going to keep it at bay, do we have really good gut health? Those two kind of go hand in hand. So if we're really healthy there, we're probably going to be good with estrogen. And if we're not too fat, we're going to have less fat stores to aromatize that estrogen. So again, it's like staying lean. But yeah, I mean, you need to use an AI. We'll use a little bit of an AI there, but it's not something I like being on super long term. I really don't love being on super long term.
Okay, makes sense. And
Yeah.
you said about a healthy gut. This is mostly important for the girls because the estrogen might be reabsorbed from the small intestines, and if the if the chick and the chicks are mostly the persons that have a problem with regularity when it comes to the uh, yeah, to the being regular.
Yep, they do, they
So
absolutely do. And
they might problem with the estrogen because of that.
yeah, and it's usually because of the low progesterone that they have. We want to check that progesterone to estradiol ratio for women, but progesterone opposes estrogen, so it's like if we can raise that progesterone, then we're going to be in a pretty good spot. And I do that for guys too. For girls, it's way more important.
Okay, great. So, how do you manage the blood pressure with your guys? Do you use something like termisartan, or when it comes to the blood pressure and obviously the HR, do you use something like maybe beta blockers and stuff like that? Or
Yeah.
it's purely you try to manage it with cardio, I don't know, maybe lowering the sodium or um, regulating the sodium potassium ratio and stuff like that.
I love the hit cardio like you referenced earlier. I think that's a really, really good one. I love doing a little tiny bit of hit, like 3 or 4 minutes. Obviously, the cardio is important. Keeping the waist circumference down is important. The nattokinase.
Like the kinase here.
I never know if I'm saying it right. I like using that one. We use about 12 to 16,000 I use. We'll use a Telma if it needs to be used in a short term. But if we keep body composition really good, I do notice that we have less issue. And also, if we're not overstressing the digestive system, I see that we have less issue. Um, Anything that improves VO2 max, so like we've talked about a lot, but the cardarine is going to help with the blood pressure a bit there as well. Um, those are really my main modality. Potassium. I keep potassium pretty high.
Yeah,
I keep potassium pretty high. It makes a big difference. I see that it really benefits us significantly to keep that quite high. So those are I don't have anything super sexy I do there. Um, it's just I magnesium being high, that's another big one. Taurine, the magnesium taurate is definitely my go-to there. Those are kind of my cheat codes for the blood pressure. Or and if it won't go down because that, then we're just gonna pull drugs back, pull training back, look at the HRV, like all of those
yeah,
unsexy things to do. Um, and then from there, you're always going to see that lower.
great. So the last question that I have here is your stops like a staple year round for guys like me, for example. So guys who are gonna pretty much abuse their health for probably at least 15 to 20 years more. So probably feel that I'm gonna be, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 years old. I am not
Yeah.
gonna drop anything because I'm just a psycho. So
Yeah. So, obviously I'm the director of formulations and co-owner of Imminent Nutrition. So everything we make there is like geared towards this. The Imminent Bio Boost, huge. I love the Thorn GI Relief. I like that one a lot for gut health. We're obviously going to use that Glow. I'm going to consider Glow a supplement here
yeah,
because that's how I use it in my people, and that helps tremendously. Um, I like D3 levels between 55 and 80. We don't want to take D3 without K2, so I'm going to dose that to ensure that we're good there. The Imminent Zenith PM has the theanine and the magnesium glycinate that I like in it, so those are two huge movers. Everyone's magnesium deficient. Not being magnesium deficient helps us like with every
yeah,
enzymatic
everything.
reaction that happens in the body. And truly, I don't use many supplements, which it'd be a lot more profitable for my company if I did. But the reason being, when you go back to that food diversity and doing the little tiny things right when we're grounding, when we're getting sunlight in our eyes, red light glasses in the evening time, we have good circadian health, all those things. It does minimize the amount of supplements that we need. Um, I'm trying to think of what else is like kind of
Probably
uh,
omega 3.
ubiquinol and PQQ. I really enjoy those a lot. So when we have a client come in, my team, you get max 2 peptide slash bioregulators and 5 supplements to give people. So I have to give. So you better dial that plan in so fucking good to make sure. So I would do the same with you. We're going to dial this fucking plan in and I'm going to lay your whole day out for you. And you're going to do this every single day. And that's how we're going to get to the next level.
Yeah.
So we don't use a ton of supplements, man. It would be a lot more profitable if we did, but we don't.
Great. Great. And for those who are still using a lot of supplements, I'm just going to incorporate your code down in the description box below. So, Justin, I think that we covered all the off-season topic. It's almost 2 hours we are talking right now. So I think we're gonna cut it here and just let the people digest it and try to memorize as much as they possibly can. And then we're gonna probably set up the second part in the
Let's
future when
go.
you find some times for me. And I'm really appreciate that you take your time for from your day just to share your knowledge with us. And for all those guys who are sticking with us to the end of this podcast, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and just share it with your friends because me uploading from Poland makes it almost invisible for guys who are outside the Europe. So this is why the views is cutting off. But all of these guys from the professional muscle, guys, I really appreciate you, are bumping up it. So even I have even one time when I wanted to ask John Jewett to come on the podcast, but the message is lost in the box like with you, and
Yeah.
then he just I don't know why, but the video is hop up on his YouTube, and he just randomly watched my video when and on the podcast I was telling there was a podcast with who I don't remember, but with
Yeah.
someone, and I've just mentioned this that I wanted to get him on a podcast, and he just texted me that he just saw that
Let's
on the
go.
podcast. So that was something that was magic. But yeah,
Dude, that's amazing.
so that's why I'm always asking for making it spread out a little bit more. But for all those guys who are maybe wanted to get hook up and start to work up with you, if you're gonna have some available spots, or maybe be I don't know if you're doing something like mentoring or maybe some sort of education
Yeah.
like consultation and stuff like that, you can find all of the social media links that you can find Justin down in the description box below as well. And that's it for today. I thank you so much for making this possible once again, and
Dude,
thank you
absolutely.
all that's watching. See
Yeah,
ya
you're
next.
fantastic, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, man. See ya next time.
Bye, dude.